Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of Fan Fuel Motorsports Podcast. This is episode number 27, and as always, I'm Alex Harrington, joined by Nathan Ball, Colton Cranmore, and Jared Bakaisa. So tonight we've got a lot going on. First up, the world of NASCAR really didn't have much going on these past 2 weeks, but we did get an announcement, I believe, earlier, either yesterday or today, that the number one car will be going over to Trackhouse, and with it comes Ross Chastain. And I do want to pass this off to you guys. I mean, what do you think? Melon Man in the number one, yay or nay?
I'm for it.
Yeah,
I'm all for it.
I think it's good.
Really?
I think he deserves another chance.
I think it's cool that he's coming with no sponsorship backing.
Yes.
Because I respect that a lot for Justin Marks and just that whole team in general. Because, you look at some guys who considerably just buy their ride, and the fact he's giving Ross a chance because I think, what did he say in his one interview, that he likes the guy that scratched and clawed his way up to the top, which if you look at Ross Chastain's career, he never really raced for a top tier team besides Chip Ganassi before that whole DC solar incident kind of ruined that there. But just the fact that he has faith in Ross, sees that in Ross, and basically chose him over Kurt Busch, who obviously would have had lots of funding coming this way. I think Trackhouse is in a really good spot. They got Suarez and Chastain now, number 1 and 99. That'll be a pretty interesting duo to see next year.
Yeah, and 1 + 99 = 100. So
yeah,
they've got the highest and the lowest numbers.
outside of Quinn Houff, the whole field is
okay. Well, yeah.
That doesn't
Zero
count.
numbers don't count.
I think it's cool. I think this leads into a bigger statement here, is that something either Kurt Busch already has something already lined up, or he's going to retire. It's one of those.
I'm hoping.
I'm Justin Marks, and I had the choice between the both. I'm taking Kurt and his funding to help develop that second car and develop the team as a whole. So I think this further speculates the rumors of Kurt going to 2311.
I want it.
Kurt just missed out completely.
I just want him in 32.
Yeah, so, I mean, what Nathan and Jared are saying probably about that Kurt going to 2311 is something that me being a Denny Hamlin fan says, yeah, if that happens, it's great. But also, I'm a huge Daniel Suarez fan, and to me, I love Ross Chastain. I'm glad that he's going to get to stay in Cup. But for me and for Trackhouse, I don't think he actually brings anything to their flagship guy in the 99 of Daniel Suarez. So I think that if there was an ability to get Kurt Busch and they passed on him, it was a really, really detrimental act towards the progression of Daniel Suarez's career.
Right, and I do think, though, Chastain's doing pretty well. Look at the summer he's had. So I think there's more to it than him just being a number 2 driver. I think if he can keep doing this, then he'll have no problem doing the same. If he performs the same at Trackhouse, I would expect him to be at least level with Suarez.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, I think just for me, and knowing that the maturity there and the guidance of a veteran driver would have been nicer for me being a Daniel Suarez fan. But, hey, I'm a Dean Hamlin fan. I love Bubba too. So if they do wind up running him in another 2311 car, it'll be great for the sport because that team will be yet another team to be on the chopping block with. And I don't think the Trackhouse is going to be anything to blink with next year. I mean, we're talking about someone that could have had a top 10 finish in the Coke 600 this year, could have won the Bristol Dirt Race had the circumstances been a little bit different. I mean, I was at the Coke 600. Daniel Suarez drove his ass off. If he hadn't got that tire go down in the first stage and not been able to get his laps back, I think he could have even maybe gotten a top 5. So the guy has shown up. Travis Mack is good for him. It seems his headspace at Trackhouse is much better than it was during the 41 and 19 years. So I'm excited for him and the sport because I feel like that's another car or 2 now that could be front runners.
Yeah, just to add real quick, you also have to look at, this is like a brand new startup team basically. 2311 is basically like your fifth Gibbs car type of thing. Like you look back, like how many recent new just straight up startup teams have had as much success right now as Daniel Suarez has? Because usually you see those teams that try to make it in there, but then end only up finishing 30th, or they're basically those your old school start and park types of drivers. This year they're like mid-tier team this year. So just the fact that as a startup team like that, and they're basically on the same level as 2311 in terms of performance wise, I think that's pretty good for them. And like you were saying, I think there's only a good way for them. They're only going to go up from here, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. And like you said with Chastain, I think he's a gem because he's driven for smaller teams before and he's done well with them. So I don't really think Trackhouse is going to be that big of a thing for him because he's probably thinking that it's better than most of the stuff he's had up to this point.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And there's no telling what's going to happen when we come to the next gen car. And that could give them something. I did want to say, though, Jared, I feel like it's a little bit different. They're obviously not a third RCR car, but they do have that kind of backing. I feel like this is more like what Martin Truex Jr. stepped into at the Furniture Row Racing, because they were on their way to being an elite team. And I think that's something that we could see from this team from Justin Marks, because the guy's a great businessman and a racer at heart.
Yeah, plus you got Pitbull back, so there's definitely a lot of money being thrown out there.
Definitely.
Yeah, and Justin Marks is smart. Like, he knows exactly what he's doing.
All right. Well, that's pretty much all that we have in the NASCAR realm today. I mean, we've got Watkins Glen coming up. We'll throw our picks up later for that. But
lost the sound.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Alex, we lost your sound.
Alex, can't hear you.
Yikes.
Oh, no.
all right, am I back?
All right, yeah, he's back.
Yeah,
I'm back. Okay, sorry, guys. It said that my browser had lost connection, even though I'm streaming this and we can see each other. So
yeah, I saw your
technical
lips move.
difficulties. Yay.
Right.
What I was saying is we had a bit of a race in Hungary for the Hungarian GP in Formula One this weekend, and I'm going to go ahead and lead it off, Nathan, for this one. What did you think of that? I don't know that your driver had anything to do on Sunday.
Yeah, that was probably the weirdest race I've seen in probably the last 5 or 6 years. It was really entertaining too. Obviously, with the start, you had the complete just circus in turn one that took out probably every front running car except for Hamilton, and then on the restart, you had him choose not to pit for slicks, which sent him all the way to the back.
Yeah.
Which probably prevented him from winning by like a minute. And you had Ocon actually win that race. He drove pretty much a perfect race, as people have been saying. You had Alonso basically prevent Hamilton from winning the race entirely. That was pretty cool. He turned 40 years old, too, that weekend. And people were saying last year that, he's washed up. He shouldn't be coming back. And he held off a car that was 3 seconds a lap faster for 10 straight laps. So that was pretty cool. Like, that was like my biggest thing for the race.
Yeah. So a big thing that came out of that, like you said, was the 40-year-old being out there whooping up on someone who's in his prime, younger, in Lewis Hamilton. But I did want to ask, I know you're a positive regression listener as well.
Yes, I
am.
am.
Age 39 season for NASCAR drivers is usually the best season. And this is partly what Alonso is doing right now in his return to F1. He was 39, obviously turned it halfway through the season. I mean, do you think that these Formula One drivers are just aging out too soon, or is the prime younger in that sport?
I would say the prime's generally younger over there. I don't know if it's something to do with the physicality of their cars or something like that, but he has done pretty good in his return. I think the biggest thing is not his age. It was the fact that he spent 2 years of not driving the cars at all.
Yeah.
And he had literally 3 days of testing, whereas you normally get 2 weeks of testing. So he only had 3 days to get back up to speed for a 2-year absence. And, to be quite honest, Ocon has out-qualified him for the most part. But in the races, they're pretty much dead even. And I think someone said that form is temporary, but class is permanent. I think that's probably the best way to describe him, because even if his qualifying pace isn't where it's supposed to be, everybody's saying he's got the best racecraft on the grid. He's the hardest guy to pass. He's the best at starts. He seems to do everything right on Sunday.
Yeah, and that's all you can really ask from a driver, especially one who is a little bit older. I mean, you look at someone like Kimi Räikkönen, who's still out there.
Yeah, he still does good.
Yeah, he's still doing the same thing, maybe not getting the results that kind of we expect from him, but that's just because he's in a lower-tier car. It was a great race on Sunday, and I thought the Hungaroring put on a pretty decent show. I did want to ask Jared and Colton if you guys saw the start and what you thought of that first lap incident. Y'all didn't watch it.
Controller disconnected. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. So what happened was Valtteri Bottas, I guess he just didn't brake well enough, and as Nathan said, the controller disconnected, and he just sent her straight on and took out not one but two Red Bull cars and a couple of other guys, including himself. And it was just a crazy race. And usually, probably
he's never been the best wet weather driver. So I'm not surprised in hindsight. Like
Breakgate F1.
Yeah,
man. Whenever the rain comes out, he is lost. Like he just There was a race last year at Turkey. He spun 6 times in the rain, 6 times, while Hamilton just cruised the win.
Got them Quinn house stats.
Yeah, it's weird. Like you would think a guy that grew up in Finland and he drives a rally car, like he'd be good in the rain, but it's just not working out.
I don't know. That's kind of weird. I don't guess I've paid enough attention to the sport to know that Bottas is not really good in the wet. But it was a crazy first lap. Made a really interesting GP. Some of the stuff was really interesting, especially watching Alonso hold off Hamilton for so long. Other drivers rallying up the pack was pretty good too. But that wasn't the only interesting race of the weekend. We didn't have any racing in the national NASCAR series, but we did have local short track racing all over the states. And I would like to pass it off to Colton. So what happened up in Wyoming?
Oh, holy hell. This is a long story here, man.
Let's get after it.
So
everybody get your popcorn.
I claimed 2 local tracks. Okay, I claimed Colorado National Speedway, which quite a bit of the time that's where I go. That's where I hang out at. But we also have one in town here in Cheyenne. It's called Intermountain Speedway. It used to be called Big Country Speedway. So you could look up either and get stats for the whole track. My dad he races out there this year. That's why I'm going there a ton. He took the last 20 years off. But the last time he was out on the track full time, he won the track championship in the mini stock division. So I mean, the little history of the track, they claim it's a quarter mile. It's really about a 1/5 mile, paved oval in Cheyenne. They consistently run just a few classes, nothing bigger than a super stock races out there consistently. But they do have payout races every once in a while. So like we just had King of the Wing out in Cheyenne. And then they went to Colorado National the very next 2 days. We have late models that race out there here and there. We have Grand American Modifieds, which are similar to the Whelen Modifieds, just a little bit shorter wheelbase. They race out there quite a bit, kind of every other weekend. But for the most part, the track is a super small bull ring with just the absolute definition of a beater hobby stock. And that's what Dad races in now. They have these gimmicky names for all their classes out there. So they call them the Warriors. It's a mini stock. They call them the Bombers. It's just a V6 super stock. They have the Cubbies. That's just the rookie class. They have all these dumb names that I really don't like.
It reminds me of the NASCAR. They used to call the rounds in the chase like something different. And
the eliminator,
the contender round, and like the eliminator round.
Yeah, and so it sucks because I get a lot of friends out there that know racing at least a little bit, and I'll be like, oh yeah, it's time for the Warriors, and I'm like, what the hell's that? I'm like, it's a mini stock, dude. Like it's just a little 4-banger in a car. But recently, the track has changed a ton in the past 20 years. When my dad raced in the mini stocks, there were a lot of drivers out there that raced in the other classes that were scared of the mini stock series because they raced hard. They were out for blood. They take no second chances at hitting you to get a spot. And so there was a lot of guys that were scared of the mini stocks because it was some rough driving. My dad won the championship with like 20 something cars that year. So you kind of figure how my dad is used to racing. Well, this year, under the new ownership of the track, they do not like racing. They like cars going in circles. They like driving. They don't like racing. Any amount of contact to them is dirty driving, right? It's almost like Formula One, but put it into a super stock. And so he's been getting black flagged pretty consistently. It's almost every other weekend. He'll do something. He'll, even if it's something as simple as a car comes down on his nose and he just doesn't lift and spins him, he'll get black flagged for it. Which is stupid because their class, they don't even allow mirrors, which is completely unsafe. It's causing more wrecks than it's preventing because they don't want guys mirror driving. Well, now if I don't have a mirror, how am I going to tell the door How am I going to tell him if he's on my quarter panel? How am I going to tell if he's clear, right? It's causing a lot more wrecks, and we're seeing it kind of unfold this year. So that's kind of a lead up to this last weekend. Dad's had a couple on-track rivalries. There was a guy that I've told all you guys about.
That one.
Super big beef for like 3-4 weeks with this guy, and they're over. They kissed and made up. The guy that drives the car is actually pretty damn cool. So is his family. But this week, it's getting late in the season. It's starting to boil over. We had 4 cars in Dad's class intentionally spin someone. Clear as day. Like hooking a left on the straightaway, plowing a guy into the wall. Dad got black flagged for an incident that he got spun in. So, set the stage here for those of you at home. And you 3, you didn't see it.
Right.
Dad's going into 3, and a car is behind him. Car behind him does not lift and just punches Dad up into the car on the outside of him. Dad smokes him, loses the car, spins sideways. He is parked sideways in the track. There's about a lane, probably half a lane of space underneath him, and then 4 lanes above him. Well, this moron, I won't say the R word.
There we go.
This dude is dumb as hell. He is the slowest car in the field. He's out of turn 2 by the time the wreck's happening. Dad's sitting in the middle of the track when this dude's halfway down the backstretch. He doesn't lift and just blam, smacks right into Dad.
Oh, no.
As soon as Dad dumps the clutch out, he's trying to roll down the track and get the thing started, right? Because at this point, there's still no caution until he gets hit.
Oh, my God.
And so Dad's like, hey, shit, I got to go, right? He's trying to pump the clutch, and he's letting off the brake. He's trying to get this thing rolling. Rolls down, I don't know, maybe 6 inches, and this dude T-bones him right behind the fucking wheel, driver's side. Boom, hit them both hard, took both cars out. Dad can drive the 94 who hit him. His name is Kyle Pendulo. Kyle's leaking stuff. I mean, he's leaking every fluid. He's damn near, he's spitting on the track, right? And he's not moving. Dad's rolling around the track, and we're trying to get a look. We're standing in the stands, and we're trying to see on his left front if there's significant damage. He can't turn the car right at all. So he's just hanging left the whole damn time trying to make it around. So he's cruising around the track. And then we get word that Dad's getting black flagged for causing the incident. So he pulls off. He doesn't even know he's black flagged at this point. He pulls off to look at the car, and they flag him down in the pits. And he walks right up to the officials booth, and he starts protesting. They have a video camera that records all the races. They go back, they look at the footage. They say, hey, you didn't do anything wrong in that situation. He should have let off. He should have seen there was a car stopped. You got to think, it's a 5th-mile track. If you look ahead of you 100 yards, you're going to see everything. And so they said, hey, he was at fault for hitting you. You're not at fault for the original incident. You're good. No black flag. Go check your car out and get back on the track. So Dad pulls off. He's looking at his car. At this point, he realized he broke a control arm. A couple other things. He's not racing tonight. But during that time period, while he's arguing his case, my brothers and I are in the stands, and we're down along the fence right in front of the grandstands. We're not even in the pits. We're in the main section of the stands, and we see little old Kyle Pendulo marching his way along while his car's still being worked on in the infield. And he comes by, and he starts spitting shit at us. And your dad's an idiot, and bleep this, and bleep that, and bleep that guy. I didn't even know who he was at first off to begin with. And this dude is small. This dude is like 5'2", maybe 100 pounds soaking wet with a bag of wrenches in his hand.
Oh, so that went well.
And he is starting the most shit, right? And there's track security right behind him, and the flagman's right behind him, and he's spitting off. I was like, who the hell is this dude? Finally, I get it, and I start spitting back. Well, at that point, he's already turned, and he's walking off with track security behind him. And find out 5 minutes later, Dad's been black flagged for the night. He's not allowed to race. 4, don't know. They already proved he didn't cause that incident, right? So we don't know. We never did get an answer. Come to find out, little old Kyle Pendulo is a real piece of shit. Like a real piece of shit.
This is where it all begins.
Like, if a piece of shit ate a piece of shit, he's that piece of shit. Pendulo was arrested in July of 2020 for strangling his girlfriend. He then got released on bond because his mom paid the bond. Broke the bond by contacting his girlfriend and strangling her again. Then got sent because the Laramie County DA sucks at their job. He was only given a year of unsupervised probation with the whole stipulation of you don't contact the victim. Moved right back in with his ex-girlfriend. and the story continues. Same, you see a pattern here, right? You know
right, like it's never going to end.
And we found out that this guy has supposedly a warrant out for his arrest. Now, someone at the track called the cops. I know who, was not me, right? Being in the stands, I know who it was. I did not do it. Called the cops. Come to find out, Pandulo. I mean, we can make a TV show out of this, guys. I swear, this is awesome. Pandulo's mom is the head official out at the track. One of.
Oh my God. Man.
His dad is the head of security and also the head tech man at the track. Now, to pull it back, the last 4 or 5 weeks, if dad doesn't get black flagged, he's pulled into the tech after the race, regardless of where he finished. So them to check his car out to make sure he's not doing anything illegal. They're trying everything they can to disqualify dad because he bumps people out of the way. So when Pandulo talks to me for a little bit and then runs off with track security, he's running off with presumably his dad, another security official, up to mom to get dad kicked out. I pulled up, this is brand new today. I found a video that someone posted online of Pandulo racing. I think it was last year. You can see him get bumped out of the way by someone, and then he proceeds to wreck the whole field.
No way. I need to see this footage.
Through a couple of them. I'll send it to you guys. So this dude has a track history of not being kicked out, not no one playing by the rules. I have found out there's a guy named Nick Tabor who currently races down at Colorado National Speedway. He used to race with my dad in the mini stocks 20 years ago. And he agreed with everything that I've told you now, that the mini stocks were a rough series, that's how everyone used to race back before the track went soft. He has said that in the past, the track manager, not even the owner, the guy who runs the track, when he doesn't like someone, he has built a car specifically to go out and wreck this dude. So Nick Tabor is not allowed at the track because he tried to fight the track manager after doing that one night. He walked back. The manager's name is Perry. And his wife's name is Kathy. She is the other head official with the Pandulo. So Nick Tabor saw Perry in the garage one night unloading a car that had never been in the track before, put someone else in it specifically to wreck. The guy's name is Gary Cagle, to take him out of the race forever, right? They don't allow Tabor back at the track anymore because he calls out their shit, right? I mean, the whole track is just, it's falling downhill. They don't let anyone race. And if you do race, you get black flagged. There were 4 guys that were intentionally spun this last weekend. None of them were caused by my dad, and none of the other 4 got black flagged, got sent to the back, got anything. Just reset the field as it was, good to go. One of the guys, I'm surprised that he walked out without an injury because he was the one that another guy turned left on the straightaway, hooked him into the outside wall right in the front of the corner, and it smoked driver's side super hard. So this track loves to play favorites. They do not like anyone calling out their shit like I'm doing now. They do not like anyone who comes to rustle feathers, and as soon as you get on their bad side, they'll ignore everything else just to nail on you. So this is kind of my calling out Intermountain Speedway. Maybe if anyone else is listening, you guys know another track like this in the country. But it's shit. Honestly, when they black flag dad, they can't give him a reason other than dirty driving, right? And so I wouldn't be surprised here for the next week or so. They just say, all right, you're not allowed to race here anymore. Little do they know, we have a cousin named Dylan who's on call. As soon as dad gets black flagged, we're going to throw my cousin Dylan in, who is also a track champion in the mini stock series, to come just race the car and do the same shit. My dad's defensive. Dylan is a dick.
Okay. Yeah.
This is gonna be an adventure.
So stay tuned for a couple stories. But this weekend, if any of you around Cheyenne haven't want anything to do Saturday night, races start at 6:00. I'll be out there. I'm buying like 10 tickets to this race. I've already got like 4 or 5 Cowboys that I'm gonna bring out that I know. I went to school with, and I'm just gonna get them absolutely wasted at the track and just let them start screaming stuff. So
that sounds fun.
Support your local short tracks.
Yeah,
so, definitely. So I there's a lot to unpack here. First, I'll throw up Cheyenne her comment. Gotta love the small track bullshit. So this is something that dealing with any sort of familial group is
Yeah,
going to
it's a
happen
problem.
anytime that you're at a short track. And I can say that from my experience working either by myself or with my dad at short tracks across the Southeast. There are really good families and there are really, really shitty families. Like what Colton's describing now, you've got a security head and you said the track manager is this jackass's parent, and it sucks.
Right.
The track closest to me right now that I won't name because they still owe me and my dad like a couple $100 from 4 years ago now for officiating. They've always played favorites like that ever since my dad stopped working there because the person who was promoting and managing the track at that point was not going to play that bullshit. So they've been doing that. There's a couple of guys that definitely have illegal cars that just pass right through tech every time because they're crowd favorites or whatever. This is not something that surprises me at all, especially for a little podunk fifth mile that sounds like it doesn't even have good car counts if it's only running smaller cars. So it is what it is. Sounds like just a fun thing to do with your family on the weekends. And I don't know what to say about the racing part, though. That's the other thing to unpack here. Obviously, they're continuing to play favorites with that. But racing is, I won't say it's like in a definite sense a contact sport, but, you know, when they say rubbing is racing, if you're on an oval, especially a short track, it's tight quarters. You're in close with other people. When you're in a hallway full of people, you're going to hit somebody. It's the same thing as when you're racing these cars. And, I mean, if you're too scared to get hit or too scared for the guys that are on your track to get hit, then none of y'all need to be out there. And I don't know. There's just a lot to unpack here, and it's just a little bit, you know, kind of ridiculous that you're having to deal with some of this favoritism and also having to deal with pansies. So I don't know.
Well, I think honestly that the more I hear that, the more it makes me think that they're using these contact penalties as an excuse to penalize the guys they don't like. Because clearly, like he said, people can hook other people, people can spin other people as clear as day intentionally, and they get no penalty. Whereas somebody they don't like can just, I mean, they can breathe on somebody and then they get a penalty. So it almost seems like they're just using that so they have a rule to look at as an excuse to penalize somebody they don't like.
Yeah, and that's fine because one of two things happens. Either you lose cars and your track shuts down and we don't have to deal with your bullshit anymore, or people like Colton get out there, get vocal, and start challenging you, and you have to change. And so hopefully that's the direction that they'll be going since Colton's out here calling them out.
Do they have Twitter? Do they have a Twitter you can tag them in?
They barely have a website and a Facebook page. So they'll have – that's another thing is these – so the track it's a one of many dying short tracks.
Right.
They don't pay out for anything. Anyone who works at this shirt is purely volunteer. That's why you get a lot of these family things is they can't hire officials. They just whoever shows up can officiate, flag, whoever. So that takes me back to your point, Alex, of the guy, you know, with the legal engine. Kyle Pandulo's engine sounds way different than any of these other guys. If he knew how to drive, he'd be smoking them every single week because he's got a cam in there. He's got something illegal because he sounds pretty different. You can hear it almost whistle when he goes by. Ties back to his dad being the tech man. Of course, he's going to pass every single time flying colors. They're not going to question anything.
Well, you know, he might be able to race if he could see over the steering wheel.
Exactly. I mean, this dude's tall, and, man, he's tough at the track. I mean, I called him out on Facebook. I was like, you can catch me outside the track and talk, you know. You guys know me. I'm fired up. I'm all the time.
Honestly, this family, the more I hear about them, it's like if their kid's gotten a warrant out for their arrest, and, you know, he's had his little legal history before, it almost makes it seem like the whole family's got problems because the apple's probably not falling far from the tree.
Right. So when the sheriffs showed up to the track, again, because someone called about his warrant, they showed up, which means they're interested in something. Right. It's not just hey, he's good. They showed up for something. Walked around, saw his pit, saw his car, saw all signs that he was there. Couldn't find him. They left. Well, come to find out, track security had pulled him right behind the ticket, or not the ticket office, the pit window. and just hit him there for a couple minutes. And so as soon as the sheriffs start hauling off the track, I look over and I see Pandulo run out from behind the pit window and sprint back to his pit to start working on his car again. It's like, what the hell is going on?
They've got to find a way to make the sheriffs have the sheriffs set up right where they take the kid to hide him and just, oh, surprise, here you are.
Just do a better job looking. I mean, they
come on now.
A minute and a half, yeah.
It's like the GTA cops.
Exactly. It's like Grand Theft Auto out there, dude.
It's like, oh, he's got 1 star, man.
Yeah, Pandulo just saw their little window of where they were looking.
Yeah.
Out of it, yeah.
Oh, that's.
I mean, this year has drawn out at the Intermountain Speedway the biggest crowd they've seen in years, and it's been a cumulative thing, right? Every week, a few more people show up. We're getting close to selling this place out again, and especially with the drama that's happening now, we're going to pack this place out. And the track's doing everything they can to neuter it because the track is for sale. And so the owners, I'm sure, are going to pay out a little bit to the track managers if it's sold. And that's kind of why I think they're trying to neuter this as much as they can. Joke or laugh part is the track's for sale for $3 million. This whole facility might be worth $600,000. I mean, it's ridiculous. And if anyone buys it, they're not going to spend $3 million just to demolish everything and turn it into houses, which is what they're going to do.
How much acreage is it on? I mean, it's got to be on a small lot if it's a fifth mile. Like, even some of the great tracks around here, I don't think are going to be worth $3 million, much less anywhere near that. So that's an interesting thing that you're saying that they're selling out. That's something that I think we've seen across the nation. Short tracks are becoming more popular, and a lot of people have said that that's because NASCAR is detrimenting themselves. I don't think so. So with the attributes that come with being able to see everything online because of the internet, and we've got Speed Sport TV, Flow Racing, Speed 51, all these other things. We're getting interest in not only racing outside of where you live, but hey, if I can watch this there, where can I go locally? And so I think you're probably seeing that there in Cheyenne with this little racetrack. Now, I'm assuming when you say it's selling out, it doesn't have very many seats.
No. And I mean, it'll probably sit at most a few hundred people, 500-600 people maybe. But I mean, we're selling 300-400 tickets a week now. I mean,
that's pretty good.
Oh, wow.
We have the kind of crowd right now for a weekly show that we did when King of the Wing showed up. And that was a big national tour. A ton of people showed up for that. And we're getting that every week now, almost.
Yeah. You guys might need a race promoter or something to come in there. And
so
I might have to do race directing and stuff to get this on the road and get it out of the hands of these people.
I've talked to one of the other guys he's best buds with the track manager. And I'm really cool. His name is Mike Ward. He's a really cool guy. And I've gone to the bar with him. I've hung out with him. So I talked to him. I said, hey, talk to Perry. Let me run the marketing, right? I'll only do free stuff for the first 2-3 years. You guys don't have to pay me anything. I'll get people out here, and I'll get you guys having the big crowds that you want to make you money. Ties back in to I don't know if they're going to say yes to anything because the track's for sale. Right. And I'm sure the track managers get a split, even if it's $50,000, right? And so I've got a whole list of like 70 items. I'm going to put together a presentation, take it to them of just free stuff they could be doing that they're not. And just to get people out there, get people interested, stuff that doesn't even have to do with racing, right? And have a big party at the track. Let people camp at the track for the weekends if they want. Stuff like this that they're not doing. But again, I really don't think they care. Another thing is like the racers. You guys mentioned that like people are getting fed up. Well, it's drawing a lot of fans away. The track doesn't have a really good reputation in Cheyenne. You could ask 10 people on the street who know about the track, and 7 of them will say that they're never going back there again because they don't like how it's operated, because they're charging $10 a ticket for a $4 show. They're charging all this money for everything they can. You have to buy a point sheet out there. You have to spend money out of your own pocket to figure out what the standings are. That's how greedy they are for money. But you get someone like Colton jump in who say, don't charge for point sheets, put them out everywhere. I want them above every urinal so people can see who's in order, right? But a lot of the drivers are noticing this too now, and they have for years. But I've even got a few, I'm not going to throw their names out, just because it's confidential and I don't want them to get in trouble. But who have also noticed, and they're thinking about quitting after this year just because they don't like how dad's being treated.
Right.
So we're actually trying to stage like a walkout, not necessarily, but
there you go.
Have racers show up and just refuse to go on track, or they're going to take the green flag and immediately pull off and just say, all right, screw it. This is what obviously you guys want. This is what you're going to get. So, I mean, other racers have definitely noticed, and it's to the point now where at the beginning of the season, it was just the Cranmores that go out. It was the Coltons and Todds who noticed this unfair treatment. Well, now the fans are booing. Now the fans are showing up just to say, you know, hey, let this dude race. He's not doing anything wrong. You need to call out this if you're going to call out that. The fans are really getting pissed. And that's another thing is they're going to lose all these fans and all these drivers after the end of the year. Dad's not racing after next year. And all the fans know that. And so they're going to come out and they're going to speak their mind and they're not going to show up next year. Ties back, tracks for sale. I don't think that they care.
Yeah, which kind of sucks. I mean, I know it doesn't seem like a very big track, but, you know, that's guys' hobbies. That's what they do on the weekends. That's the fun that, you know, that thing that they do to blow off steam. You know, like I remember the track that we used to work at that's down here. I mean, we would have races where people would show up 100 to 120 cars on just a regular Saturday night. They can't even get 30 right now just because of the mismanagement. So it sucks as a fan to see that. And I hate for you guys just to lose a racetrack. I'm sure that if your dad knew that management was changing or someone bought the track instead, that he might continue racing unless he's got other things going on.
It's a health thing. So he has MS.
Gotcha.
That's why he quit racing 20 years ago.
Gotcha.
The reason he's racing now is because my parents split up and he wanted to do it just as a one more time, right? Mom's not around to tell him no or anything like this.
Right.
To show that he could do it, because I'm the only one out of my three brothers that ever saw my dad race. My dad retired after the 2000 season when he won the championship. And my middle brother was, I think, 3, just going on 4. And my other brother, well, no, my middle brother was 2, not even 2 yet. And my youngest brother had just been born. And so I'm the only one that ever saw him race. And so that's a lot of reason he's racing this year and only this year. Because, I mean, you can tell he gets out of the car and he doesn't do well in the heat.
Right.
He's sweating. He'll lie on the ground. It's kicking his ass to do all this. And so that's why he's told us several times this is it. He can't do this
Gotcha.
year.
Yeah.
But what the track doesn't want to do is drive out the whole Cranmore family. Because Dad's still got a car and he's going to give it to someone to go race out there. It's probably going to be one of my brothers or my cousin. And so what the track really does not need, if they want to keep these crowds, is to kick out all the Cranmores and just say, all right, bon voyage, right? Because Cranmores run this damn town. I mean, I say that as one, but I mean, we know a hell of a lot of what's going on here. We used to sell that track out every single week. People would come and they'd pay their $10, $12, and they'd go buy $6 beers and then go buy $8 hamburgers just to sit and watch the racing. And they're just now getting back to that point where if they run on this momentum, they could easily do it.
Yeah.
But I don't think they want to, which is terrible.
Yeah. I don't know. Knowing that your dad has those health issues, that's kind of even shittier the way that they're treating him. Like, I know that's not an excuse because, you know.
Yeah, at a good track, that'd be something really cool that you could advertise. Like, hey, one more season with, you know, like some, like, you know, try to promote that or something. Like, you know, you might get some older people. And like, man, I watched him race 20 years ago. You know, some sort of stuff like that.
Yeah,
you know?
It's almost just straight corruption from the officiating and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there's a ton of stuff. They could be advertising their drivers. They could have them out in the concourse to sign autographs in between features. They could
get the kids involved and stuff. You know, that's where you really that's where it works for like any types of sport or whatever. If like you get kids hooked, guess what? They're coming back the next week or something.
Right.
And those kids are going to grow up to turn into me, who's going to want to support every local track, not just mine.
Right.
The kid, I mean, I'll go to a race. I've been to a race every weekend since May 8th. I take out one because I had a birthday party. But every weekend I've been to here. I've been to Erie, down at Colorado National. So, I mean, I go to races every single chance I can. That's what we need to do is we need to get the kids more involved.
Absolutely. Yeah, and there's tons of different ways to do that. I mean, it doesn't even have to be the racing. I mean, a kid shows up, they hear that big motor vroom, and sometimes they get scared, depending on how old they are. So, that is whatever. But, there's racetracks that have bike races for kids. They can run on the racetrack. They'll do stuff where, like, they have Frisbees that the drivers sign and throw into the
pre-race track walks.
T-shirts, frozen T-shirts, all kinds of stuff, man.
If y'all are listening to this on Twitter at Cranmore Colton, send me some ideas. My DMs are open. If you have anything to make any local track better, I guarantee this place isn't doing it. One of the things I thought of, I went to a Colorado Eagles. It's a minor league hockey team close to here. I went to one of their games, and you could buy a puck for $1, and you could write your name on the puck. And at the intermission, they put a big bucket, like a 5-gallon bucket, out in the middle of the ice, and you could throw your puck. And if you made it, you got like $500. Right? Yeah. I mean, there's all sorts of little stuff they could be doing that wouldn't cost very much at all, right?
Yeah.
They could get out with tennis balls. I'd buy the tennis balls. Shit, what's 500 tennis balls? $200?
Yeah, they do that at one of the minor league baseball fields around here. You can buy like a tennis ball, maybe like, I don't even know how much it used to be, but they would just have hula hoops out there or a bucket out on the baseball field, and you're just from the stands, you just throw them out there. If you get it in the hula hoop or if you get it in the bucket, then you win a prize or whatever. But like, that's something cheap that you can do, just.
Yeah,
fan engagements were what really runs it, besides like the actual action on the field or on the track.
And I know they're making enough money to start doing stuff like this. If they're selling 200 tickets, which is that's a very modest estimate for what they're doing. That's $2,000 just on tickets. You're not counting the beer. Beer's their moneymaker. You're not counting the concessions. You're not counting the pit passes of the drivers showing up and people want to go see. They got to be making $5,000 a week out there. Why can't you give away $50 to a fan? Because that $50 to a fan is going to mean a hell of a lot more to them. If you keep coming back to the track, who's going to pocket it and laugh at the bank?
Yeah. I mean, there's stuff like 50-50 raffles and stuff like that. I know they do that at a lot of racetracks. They even do that at the Braves games. I found out this last Sunday. Some guy won $20-something thousand from that. So, yeah. Yeah.
What? Hey.
So I mean, there's a lot to do for fan stuff. And it's kind of funny. You said fan experience is kind of the center of what racetracks need to be doing, Jared. And I think Colton and myself are very, very privy to wanting to help, especially in the sport of NASCAR, with fan acquisition, not just fan experience at the track, but how to get fans. So with that being said, Colton, if we're done, do you mind moving on to the next part of this show? All right. So what I mean by that is there's a lot that the fans can and can't do based on either not having enough knowledge or not really having anywhere to voice their opinions. We are Fan Fuel Motorsports. If you didn't notice, we changed our name on Twitter, and our @ is now Fan Fuel MSM down at the bottom there, capital F, capital MSM now. And we're Fan Fuel Motorsports. What does that mean? Well, we're where the fans fuel talk about about motorsports. Right in the name, I said NASCAR. I was going so well for a while.
He got overhyped.
So yeah, I'm really hyped right now. So I had this idea back in 2015. I never could get it off the roll. I did start to do it, and at one point I was like really like getting low, and I was like, you know what? I got to say something. I got to have a platform to say something, and there's nothing out there. And so I was like, well, I can't do this by myself because it's not going to be that great. So I got hooked up with Nathan. I've known him for a while, since the Reddit days.
Those were
been on Twitter. Yeah, and I had to beg him to come on the show, and we started this project really, really well. He said, hey, there's this other guy, and that was Colton. He came on, and Colton and Nathan and I, we all started talking about some stuff. And we said something along the lines of, hey, we need somewhere for the fans to interact. And then Colton said, hey, there's another guy that I know named Jared, and he's got this same sort of idea, and we're all kind of rolling the same way. So we all four got connected. And Jared, I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to you. What does Fan Fuel Motorsports have coming here soon?
Oh man, we got some really big things coming along. So I'll do a little backstory also with this. I was basically like Alex too. I've always wanted to try to get, my opinions on NASCAR out there. I would tweet about it on Twitter, but like maybe you've got like 20 people to see it or like one like if that. But I've always like been very opinionated with NASCAR as a fan. I've always just wanted to experience stuff like away from my local racetrack, just see a bunch of different things, but there's not really a site out there that connects with the fans. You have your normal site, you have your normal media coverage sites that keeps you up to date with the news. But unless you're like emailing someone or calling some people, you're not going to find that what to do with the track, where to go around the track. And that kind of leads to what I wanted to do. I kind of wanted to build something where, hey, if I'm going to Bristol, I would love to know like where's there to eat, what's the good thing to do, what's some things to avoid, what's the best traffic places to stay. So just little things like that, or just see like what kind of collections people have, because I know I've seen a lot of cool things that I never thought even existed in the NASCAR world. And that's kind of like what we're trying to do here with Fan Fuel Motorsports. So really the big announcement is we're working on a website, and we're going to try, all four of us here, we're going to start to try to build different content for the fans out there, because like what the slogan is, where fans feel talk about motorsports. We want a site where fans essentially run the site. Right. So we're looking, what we're doing now is we're gathering our content and stuff up, but we're also announcing today that we want help from you, the fans, to try to provide some content before we have our big launch party that we're projecting to have Friday, September 3rd, the Friday before the Southern 500 and right before the playoffs. We felt as a group it'd be a good time, to try to launch this thing, because there's those people that for any sport, people that just tune in for the playoffs or just start to get interested in the playoffs. Right. Plus, this fall is just going to be really big fan interaction wise for every sport, because you got the NFL coming up on Sundays, you got the NASCAR playoffs on Sunday, so everyone's going to be social media active this fall. And I think that with this content that we're putting together and this content that we can get from you fans, I think it's going to be what we call a safe place for fans to come, not get attacked like you do on social media or Reddit or whatever. Somewhere where you can tell your stories, shout out your local short tracks or something, or we can even create something like Short Town Stories or something could be a column. And if people like Colton have some interesting stories about their local short tracks, you can submit it to us. But what we're working on right now, we just want to get some more content from the fans. We want to try to get, pictures, videos. I was thinking of doing something like, get a view of my seat or something. And if you just submit different places to sit, people can look like, oh, this would be a pretty cool spot to sit. Like, that's one of those things that's kind of hard to find online, is like, where's the best seat? For me, this upcoming weekend's Watkins Glen. I might be going there, but I don't really have I don't have a site where I can see like, oh, where's the best seat or what's an opinion on it. Like, sure, you can get like a little 3D model or something on Google or like Ticketmaster or something that projects to show what it's like. But something, if there's like a little description, like, hey, you might, if you sit here, there was like a fence or something or a pole that you can't see a certain spot, or some little details like that, or like that's kind of what we're looking for here. And Alex actually created a little spreadsheet or form, Google form.
It's a form.
Google form where you can submit it to us. We can look at it. We'll work with you, because our goal is to basically be super fan friendly. We want to interact with everyone. We want everyone to get their stories out, and you can honestly just even look at us. Like, we don't have, before we all even got together, like we were just owning our own little miniature worlds in our areas. Next thing you know, I'm branching out. Oh, look, I have friends down in Florida. I've got a friend out in Wyoming. I never thought that would be something that would even happen. And then all this came together, because I remember I texted Colton whenever I saw his podcast. I'm like, yo, I kind of want to do something with this. And Colton's like, oh, I got something even better. And we met up one day, and guess what? Here we are.
Yeah. And there's 4 of us now. So that's what's great about this. All from just one little spark of, I've got to do something. And I've been, blessed with connecting with these 3 guys, and we've all got common goals. And I'm sure that listening to what Jared just said, you've probably got that same sort of goal because you probably want that in your fan experience as well. So he said, I've got a form up. So let me explain that just a little bit. It's a Google Docs form. If you're going to send something to us, we're going to post it on Twitter after the show tonight. You can download that and send that to us at our email at fanfuelpodcast@gmail.com. I know we just changed our name to Fanfuel MSM, so it's a little bit weird, but we've had the Gmail since the beginning of the inception of the show, and now that it's growing into something else, we're just going to keep it just for easiness sake. So if you'll send that there with your content, I'll kind of quickly go over it. Basically, it's just a content submission form. We were going to ask you to tell us about yourself. You don't have to fill everything out here, but we've got your name, your age, your favorite driver, your hometown, your home track, and how long you've been a fan. And there's a brief bio, a brief description of yourself that you can provide. Any of that you want to include on the website, just go ahead and highlight that, and we'll get it up when we start doing it. We've got a content submission checklist, and we want you to check what kind of content that you're getting to us. With this website, we're going to have a few just featured places for a featured story, and this could be something that we feature daily or featured weekly. So we've got a checklist for the opinion piece of a feature story or a race analysis for a feature story, whether that's what you want to talk about the sport, where you think the sport is headed, where you want it to head, or if it's a race analysis because you want to say something that you saw, at the racetrack this weekend at Watkins Glen or at your local short track this weekend. Go ahead, throw that to us, and we'll do what we'll see about it, and we'll do what we'll do with that.
Heck, if you think of something that we haven't even thought about too, shoot that our way, and we can most likely make it happen. We have 4 guys here that are brainstorming, and obviously I'm sure there's a lot of ideas we haven't even thought of that could probably be a super awesome idea. So don't be afraid to reach out. You can even DM all of us or whoever, if you have an idea. If you're not following one of us, just DM us with an idea, and we'll take your into consideration. We're not going to turn down any ideas. There's really no stupid ideas when it comes to this. So
yeah, absolutely. It's a fan-run website. And one of the ideas that Jared had was whether or not we know what we're doing when we're going to a racetrack. Where do we need to sit? Where do we need to go? Oh, we've got at-track do's and don'ts and weekend do's and don'ts. What are you going to do recommendation-wise for going to the race weekend, going to places to eat, places to stay, where to sit, what not to do in situations at the racetrack. Don't park in lot D. Don't park in the purple lot. Avoid the restrooms in section, whatever, because they've never been, updated since I've been going there in 1974. Anything like that.
Right.
We're going to be doing photography features and diecasts of the week as well. And these are kind of, provide something interesting that you think a lot of the other fans would want to know, a brief history or story of a car or a driver or a track from local or national stuff. If you want to talk about your favorite wonky paint scheme, do that. If you want to talk about a racetrack that you found in the woods near your house, do that as well. And then just know that we would like to read and edit some of your stuff before putting it on, just to homologate the website and make sure there's no profanity and stuff like that on it as well. So unless it, needs it, I guess. But we want to keep it a little bit cleaner rather than not.
Let's keep it family friendly and professional.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if things need to be said, we'll do what we need to do to definitely not have that word there, if you catch my drift. And then just let us know if you want to send that proof back before we post it or not. And that's kind of where we're at with the forums. That's pretty much all I've got for that. So Colton, I know you had something you wanted to say.
Yeah. So I'm just to piggyback off, you guys hit damn near everything. You'd be amazed when you start talking to fans, how close a lot of their opinions line up and a lot of other ideas line up. I mean, I've connected with people all over the country. I joke and say I've got a NASCAR fan in every state, but I dang near do. And so, I mean, you'd be amazed at how, if you guys send us an idea, how much we take it into consideration, because a lot of the times it's going to be something that we haven't thought of because you're going to provide a different perspective. I like to think that I do that being out here in the middle of nowhere versus someone who goes to races every single weekend,
Right.
So, I mean, we're asking for stuff for all tracks, not just NASCAR tracks. We want to do your local short tracks as well.
Absolutely.
Even some IndyCar tracks.
Anywhere.
Any track that you can give us information on of where to go, where to sit. Provide a lot of the fans with the experience, I can already tell you guys what I tell you for Colorado National Speedway and my local short track as well. And if we expand that, I mean, you guys can hop on and you can go to any track in the country, hop on Fan Fuel, and see what people are saying about their experience in this section, with parking here, going to this concession stand. And then, I mean, as well, we'll hear submissions. We'd love to get you guys on the podcast. We are Fan Fuel. We try to keep it as much fan oriented as we can.
Yeah, definitely just keep sending us stuff, because like what Colton was saying with his story, like all of us here, we kind of got like a little idea on what his local short track is. Now, just imagine how many other short tracks around there are there that have crazy stories like that, or just in general. Like, I would love to hear like what other short tracks are like, because that's not something that's just publicly advertised on a national type of stage, where especially on a website, like you can't really find that. Like, I don't know what kind of short tracks. I never knew what kind of short tracks were out in Wyoming, and Colton I just got a brief description on a little history of it, all in like a little 20-minute segment. So, you support your local short track by giving them publicity. Even once that article's out there, maybe even tag them in that. And guess what? There's going to get some more viewers, more fans with us to see your content. And then guess what? There could be more opinions to be formed, more articles, more content for all of us and your local area. So that's what I got with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great point, because I mean, even as well versed in short track racing as I am, because I come from an officiating family, I don't know half the dirt tracks that are even in the Southeast, not to mention the rest of the country. I mean, if the World of Outlaws didn't go to like a Port Royal Speedway, well, I'd have never heard of it. So, and I mean, I know, Jared, that's your neck of the woods being in Pennsylvania, but I mean, do you know of Sonoa Raceway in Georgia? Exactly.
Nope.
So it's going to be something good, especially regionally, for people like Jared said. You don't really know what to do except for in your local community. But let's say you hear that a bigger event, maybe not a national but a regional series, is coming to your short track, and you're like, oh damn, this was good racing, I want to go see them next week, and they're going to be 3 hours away. Well, if you don't know anybody that's never been to that racetrack, where are you going to go to figure out what you need to do as far as parking? Do they allow coolers? All this kind of stuff. So it's kind of be a place where fans can get their opinions off, but also it's going to be a database where fans can show what you do and don't need to do in the local tracks and in the local areas around even some of the big tracks. And I think that's a great idea, and I hope you guys would want to help us out with creating just a mass of content, so that each of us will know when we come to your neck of the woods what we need to do for your local short track.
Yeah, we're going to be like a better version of Reddit.
Yeah, that's basically the goal.
Basically,
better version of Reddit, like
less hostile.
Yeah, less hostile. Just to say, like I said, we want it to be a safe place for all fans of any sport to just come, browse whatever, check whatever they feel like looking up, and hopefully, like, we get this thing rolling here. We got like that 10-week. It's like I look at it as like a little 10-week trial run, see how we do these 10 weeks of the playoffs, what kind of content we get. And then once we kind of get our names out there, we're going to have the whole NASCAR off season to build. And then I have some couple things planned for next season coming along. So we're definitely going to have a lot of content. This winter would probably also be a good time to get more content from everyone too. It's the off season. If you're that big of a NASCAR fan and just want to get some content or just read some content, hopefully this winter we'll be posting stuff on the daily, and you'll have new content, different types of content, learn some new stuff. So that's really our big goal. And I'm really glad that, I got to meet all of you guys, because first time I talked to Alex, like I just was shooting my stuff, my opinions or whatever, and it just lined up absolutely.
Yeah.
It couldn't have lined up more perfectly as how it really came down to that. I literally found someone that had like sort of the same idea as us, and we basically just built it together to where we're announcing this today.
Yeah, and it's not just me; it's Colton and Nathan too. And something that I know Nathan is going to bring to the table that some of us don't, because I mean we're 4 different individuals with totally different passions about racing, which is very interesting.
We're all over the place.
So Nathan brings in the open wheel stuff a lot. I mean, he is a big Formula One fan. He is a big IndyCar fan, and I know some of the stuff that you wanted to do was bring a little bit of that passion to the website yourself. So kind of explain to people what we can do with these fan features and these fan featured stories outside of the realm of stock car racing or short track racing.
I mean, it can still even be stock cars or short track racing. I guess I'm kind of a big like history nerd, right. There's people out there like that. Dale Jr. is one of those people. I've historically been one of those types of people. I love old stats. I love old paint schemes. I love just reading and watching stuff from a few years back and just enjoying the history side of racing. I feel like that's a good thing to do. I don't care what type of racing it is. Like if it's history, it's cool to me. So I feel like my biggest contribution is probably going to be trying to highlight that side of the sport, because maybe somebody that's just became a fan 2 years ago might learn something they didn't learn beforehand if they look on the website and they see, an article about a race from 20 years ago. Yeah,
and I mean, it's not even, the guys that have just become a fan. I mean, there's probably, plenty that we could learn, especially back in some of the older driver stuff, pre-modern era for NASCAR, some of the older like 50, 60 F1 drivers like Dan Gurney and Fangio and all that kind of stuff that probably you're going to be more passionate about than we are, that we are obviously going to think cool, because racing cars fast is pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So
right,
and
exactly.
That's what all brought us together. So that's basically what the whole website's about. It's truly like our slogan, where fans feel talk about motorsports. We are trying to have a complete space where fans can just fuel their passions with motorsports of other fans who are also fueling their passions. And I can't wait. It's a great opportunity. I'm glad you guys all, got on board in the odd, quickly way that it kind of all fell into shape. I'm glad, Jared, that you had the know-how to get this thing started. This is basically your baby. We're just along for the ride. And hell yeah. I mean, it's been pretty great trying to figure this out. I'm glad we're finally announcing it. And I can't wait for September 3rd. That's only a short month away. So if you guys could, get with us, get some content in, download that Google Docs form, send it to us in an email with your content. Let us know who you are. We'll love to get to know you. And like Colton said, if you'd like to be on the show, just DM one of us. We're glad to have you. Fan Spotlights is kind of the direction that we want to be going in. Of course, we'll have content when we don't have someone to talk about, just like tonight. But we're here for you. This is not only to make our fandom stronger; it's to help yours as well. So
definitely.
I
Just
could
don't
look at that form and I could send that to people tonight. Even I'm in several group chats with a bunch of people that are fans of NASCAR, IndyCar, F1, whatever. The only thing is, I do need to request access to that link, because every time I click on it, it just says access denied, request access from the host. So once we do that, I'll send that out to everybody.
Yeah, same. I'll do that too for the
I'll just say, hey, look, you should fill this out. Like, how long you've been a NASCAR fan? We need help with this.
Yeah, so don't be afraid to just like I said earlier, just don't be afraid to reach out to us. Like I didn't even know Colton before, and I just reached out to him one day just for shits and giggles, basically. And guess I ended up here a couple months later. So anything's possible. Like most likely, you'll probably get featured on something. So do not be afraid to fill out that form. Reach out to us. Help us all build a site for all of us.
Yeah. I don't think
Absolutely.
you can say any better.
Yeah, I got nothing else better than that.
Mhm.
He used all my lines.
Yeah, I'm trying to fix the thing while in the middle of the show. Probably should have waited till the end of that.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
But yeah. With that being said, we do have to get into Watkins Glen picks before we get done. It's been 2 weeks, guys, so I don't really remember what went on last time.
Shoot.
I know that I tweeted it, and
I know that for sure that we stopped after New Hampshire.
I know.
Colton had that crazy
New Hampshire
Benedetto gamble, and
Yep, and I got second. I got a point.
Works, right? Every point
Who had
matters.
Brad Keselowski? I think it was Alex.
No, it's me.
Yeah.
Nate
No. I had Martin Truex Jr.
Yeah, I had Keselowski.
Nate had Keselowski, so Nate got the 2 points. I got 1. Alex, sorry, bud, you're at 0 this week.
Yeah.
Who did Jared have?
I
don't think Jared.
Did Jared pick any last week?
No, because that was the episode. Was that the episode? Did you do that with Rattlesnake?
Yeah, that was that episode.
Yeah, I missed that one. I had work
yeah,
that
you're
night.
right.
All right, then. Well, I guess I'm going to go first if I was the person that finished last. Well, you know what? The 19 got robbed in New Hampshire because of the caution.
Right.
I'll go ahead and pick him again.
Okay, that's a really good pick. Like, you took one of the heavy hitters off the board.
I like that pick. I mean, I'll go one step further. I think Truex could have won the 2019 race if we had a different aero package, but
he got stuck in the dirty air.
That's
hurt him.
That's a completely different story.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that take. So,
all right, I'll go ahead and give this one to Jared since I guess he should have went first, but
I think I'm gonna go. I'm gonna be biased and go with my boy KFB for the week. I think he's really statistically good at Watkins Glen. He has 2 wins there. In 2013, a lot of people kind of forget about it, but the 2012 race where he kind of got spun, but kind of also got slipped on the oil that was on the track. He kind of got his redemption win the next year, and I think like with what transpired at New Hampshire, he's going to be driving a little bit differently. I think he's going to be driving a little upset at NASCAR. I think he might pull off the win there. And then another little stat that also nobody really pays attention to, the 2018 race that Chase Elliott won his first race, I think Kyle got busted for speeding or something.
Something like this air hose.
Something put him in the back, and I think he restarted in the 20s, worked his whole way up to third, but nobody really talks about that because, you had Chase Elliott winning his first race.
Because they were so far ahead of everybody else.
Which was a big deal, obviously, but just the fact that he drove the whole way through there completely unnoticed. Like that shows he's pretty good there. And we basically have like that type of package. We're not going to have the aero package where you guys are stuck behind one another like 2019. So that'll be definitely, I think he's one to watch.
All right.
Colton.
Colton.
So, my guy. I am playing the points game at this point in the season. I'm not trying to win every week. I did that earlier. I got 3 straight weeks where I won.
Right.
I'm trying to play the points game. I'm trying to be consistent here. I am going with a guy who is an underrated road racer. At Watkins Glen, throughout his career, he has an average finish of 11th. He finished 5th the last time they raced there in 2019.
I think I know where this is going.
I know who
I am going to go with my guy, Ryan Blaney.
There you go.
I could see that
from a mile away.
Wild cards from here on out, basically.
How many times have you picked Ryan Blaney this year?
Twice.
Yeah, I know. Like
twice? Come on.
I'm like I said, I'm playing for points. Consistency matters. That's what I'm going with.
All right, Matt Kenseth.
Yeah. I'm probably going to pull like the ultimate jinx job on my own driver here, but I think Colton kind of forced my hand here, and I'm going to go with Hamlin because, generally speaking, the Joe Gibbs cars have been really good at Watkins Glen. He's always had top 5 speed. He did win in 2016. Granted, that was with a whole lot of luck after the 18 and the 2 went off in turn 1, and he inherited the lead. So, but aside from that, he's had a 4th place finish. He was running top 5 when his air hose got run over. He was, I believe, 2019. He was in a 3rd place. He was on his own island. Like Elliott and Truex were 10 seconds ahead of him, and then he was 5 seconds ahead of 4th. So I honestly feel like if anyone's gonna maybe not win, but just top 10 out of Watkins Glen race, is probably gonna be him.
So we all picked our favorite drivers, basically, is what it came down to.
Yeah, I know for sure I'm gonna jinx him. He's gonna crash on lap 1.
I can't believe to do that to Denny like that, man. I mean, you just left Chase Elliott on the board, knowing he's the best road racer.
God, no.
How do you forget that?
If
he's gonna win. Watch him win. He's
blow
gonna
the
win
tire
now. He's
and
winning
winds
now.
up like 20th, he's gonna lose the points lead. I'm going to blame you. Okay.
But I forgot about Chase Elliott, man.
You just said something about it.
Oh my god!
When you were recapping,
look,
the
man,
race.
Stop the count. We need to redo. Like we're gonna
It's too
re-record the
late.
episode.
It's too late. You picked the 11. You got
Come
the
on.
11.
We're racing for second this week.
So I mean, Colton, you're the only guy that didn't choose a JGR car. So I mean,
I had Chase Elliott. I'm thinking Hendrick, and I'm like,
and he's thinking.
I don't understand how I forgot about Chase Elliott.
He was thinking under Razor Lake Colton.
And even Larson is not a snub at these road courses, man. I mean,
yeah, no. And I was thinking, I thought Larson. I was like, nah. I thought Byron, nah. Bowman, nah.
Yep.
Like,
I
don't know how I forgot Chase Elliott. I just don't understand.
Need a bad day from the 5 so that we can still have the points lead with Denny Hamlin.
I've given Alex the win for picks this week. Truex is like a guaranteed top 2.
Hey, I'll take it after him being knocked out of turn 1 of lap 7 or 8 last week because of rain. So I will take it and run. I think I deserve that.
I could really use the 19 and the 9 crashing up in the S's at some point in that race.
They're going to finish.
I do want to say
wide open for me.
They're going to finish 1-2 again.
Yeah, I'm like, can y'all wreck or something? Give Hamlin the win?
Nah, that's not going to happen.
It's all right. Kyle Busch is going to get a speeding penalty
this
week.
Yeah, no, he does not.
Yeah, well, just know that once we come to the playoffs, we're switching this thing up. So
let's call it the anti-me rule.
Yeah. So, guys, just be looking to that. We got the playoffs coming up. We're going to be redoing fan fuel picks. We're going to use, I think we agreed on the top 12 in playoff rankings. And we can only choose one driver each week. So we'll have 2 left over at the end of the season just to put some strategy into it. So it's going to be a little bit tougher. So I hope whoever's going to build that lead the next 4 weeks is happy because everybody else will be gunning for them. With that being said, that's all we have for tonight. Thank you for sticking around. Another short show. We're going to try and be getting content out from you guys onto the website so that we can have that launch smoothly on 9/3. So if you would, like I said earlier, email us with your content, with the submission form, and a little bit about yourself. To fanfuelpodcast, all lowercase, at gmail.com. And you can find that sheet on Twitter shortly after the show is over tonight. And other than that, we'll see you next week. Stay in touch. Follow us on Twitter. And that's the new FanFuel MSM Twitter handle. Capital F, capital F, capital MSM. And drink you some chalky milk just like Colton has tonight. And we will see you next week. All right, guys. Bye.
See you.